Hey, welcome to another class on The Secret History. Today we're going to look at articles. A, an, or the, or no article. And I didn't want to go into it in too much detail, but I did want to introduce an idea to a lot of you that perhaps you haven't heard before. Because I think you get told that it doesn't matter which one. I've got that written somewhere here. It doesn't matter which one when you use a, and it is important which one. We know which one, or there is only one when you use the. But really, that's not enough information to understand how we use articles. That is a lot of it, but I want to tell you about a couple of other things that I hope you'll find interesting. And I think you can see this in the first 2 or 3 pages of chapter 6 of The Secret History. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to introduce the idea that we use a or an when you introduce a noun into existence. Yeah, when you assert the existence of a noun. Yeah, and this is why you always say, I have a wife. Yeah, now I've only got one wife. There is only one. Yeah. Now, if I say I have a wife, we can assume that you don't know that I have one, so you don't know which one, but it's certainly the case that there is only one, my wife. And let me give you another example. I have a twin brother. Now, there can only possibly be one twin brother. Nobody has 2 twin brothers or 3 twin brothers. I certainly only have one. And I still say I have a twin brother because I'm introducing that guy into existence. I'm introducing John into existence for a lot of you because you don't know that I have a twin brother. And so when you introduce someone or something to existence, when you assert their existence, and we usually do this with certain verbs, with the verb to be and to have, we do this. We do this whenever we say there is. There is means I assert the existence of something. And so we always say, you know, there is a bookshelf in my shed. There is a sofa in my shed. There is a computer in my shed. Because there is introduces things into existence. So you always say there is a God. Yeah, if you believe in God and you are asserting his existence or its existence, you say there is a God. You don't say there is God, even though usually God doesn't have an article. Yeah, usually you say God created the world in 7 days. You don't say a God, you don't say the God, you just say God. But as soon as you say there is, you do say a God. There is a God. And so anytime you introduce something to existence or you assert the existence of something, you must use a or an. And I want you to remember things like there is are existential clauses. You introduce something to existence. But the same goes for similes when you use like a. And you can see this very often in the book. If you use Control F, and you look at the digital copy of The Secret History and you use Control F and write like a, you will find loads of examples of like and then a being used for a simile. Yeah, and we have one here in a second, so there it is, like a killer. How like a killer that makes me sound. Not how like the killer, it's a killer because it doesn't matter which killer. Yeah, so like a very often introduces something to existence. What a and such a are also very existential. They introduce an idea to existence, and so they always seem to have an a. Or most of the time, let's say, they have an a there. Most of the time. What a, I think, always does, and such a always does. Like a most of the time does. And even with verbs like consider and seem, you're usually introducing an idea or a noun into existence when you use consider or seem. So have a look at some of these examples from the first few pages of chapter 6. Just for the record, I think this is the very first sentence, yeah? Just for the record, I do not consider myself an evil person. Yeah, and we use this an. Even though you might think, well, hang on, I know who it's referring to. It's referring to the I, and so surely I know which one, and so surely I do not consider myself the evil person. But your logic would be wrong. Yeah, with consider, you introduce this idea of an evil person into existence. And so usually with consider, you see an A. Yeah, so I consider you a good student.